Mr. S. Hazra, CMD of Shipping Corporation of India, joins us right now live on the show. Good to have you, Mr. Hazra. Thanks so much for taking the time out. Am I correct? I mean, are you mulling hiking container freight rates after that 8% hike that you had in Feb and March? And if so, am I to believe that business is looking as good enough for you to be able to hike freight rates by whatever percent that you're planning to, and the market having the ability to absorb them?
You see, you must remember that the container freight rates actually plummeted to its nadir. So whatever increase that we are talking of, they are not increased. They are merely just an attempt to restore the rate to some extent. And container lines all over the world have been incurring very substantial losses. So there has been a conscious effort to rationalize the supply. A lot of ships have been taken out, and people have tried desperately to sort of consolidate so that a few lines having joined hands and things like that. That is in the global scenario. So that is having some impact on almost on every market. So we see container rates, I won't say really increasing very much, but container rates somewhat stabilizing. And going forward, we do hope, as far as SCI's container service is concerned, that we will be doing slightly better than what we did last year. As you know, last year, this last 3 quarters, we have been incurring losses for the liner segment. We hope things will look up a little bit going forward.
So, okay, then please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hazra. Did I understand you correctly? You're saying that container freight rates could probably hold at the current levels. You're not necessarily looking to hike them right now. You may do so in the future, but for now...
No, all that I'm saying, the container rates are not coming down anymore. They are stabilizing. And there have been some attempts of $100, $50, $100 increases in various segments, which will continue because there is a conscious effort by all the container operators all over the world to rationalize supply so that, the rates don't keep on crumbling down, and thereby, container lines don't keep on incurring very heavy losses.
But it's a mere rationalization, minor rationalization. It's not a great percentage uptick the way you had in Feb, March when the rates moved up by 8-10%. It could be rationalization, sure, but there was an increase. So is there a substantial increase?
No, there has been no substantial increase, and even 8% increase from the kind of levels that we saw cannot be called any substantial increase.
Right, but what's the way forward, Mr. Hazra? I mean, do you foresee that over the next 6 to 8 months for the remainder of the calendar year, that there could be some pressure to hike rates?
No, I mean, what do you mean by pressure? It is, every line is trying to increase rates because they are finding that, they are unable to recover all their expenses. Virtually all container shipping line is in the red. So, of course, there is no question of any pressure on them to hike. They are consciously trying to at least hike to some extent because rates are far, far below the level at which they were being operated, even before 2008 or even in 2010. 2010, there was a kind of revival whereby, container lines again started making profits. But from 2011 beginning onwards, we see in really the fortunes of the container lines have suffered very, very badly. So now I hope going forward things will slightly look up. That's all I can say.
When you're saying slightly, sir, could you give us a sense of how much things can get better from where they stand today?
No, as I mentioned, we are attempting to, have small increases of $50, $100 in various different segments of container segments.
Okay, just talk about some other lines as well, Mr. Hazra. I believe you recently bagged a contract for providing port and marine services at the Dabhol LNG terminal. How does the energy space look in terms of growth? Does it make you believe that over the next 12 months to maybe 18 months, that will be a big thrust area for SCI as a company, or maybe for shipping as an industry as well, energy space?
You see, as far as Indian shipping is concerned, oil and gas has always assumed far greater significance than in the global scenario. If you just study the global tonnage vis-a-vis Indian tonnage, you will find that for Indian tonnage, the percentage of tankers is far, far higher than in the global scenario. So for us, as we always say loosely, that oil and gas is our bread and butter. And SCI has been, giving major thrust to the energy transportation for a very long time. This is nothing new. At one time, our fleet consisted of nearly 80% of various kind of tankers. And I think this percentage may have slightly come down, but it will remain at a very, very high level of 70% or thereabout for a very long time. So energy transportation is our thrust area. As far as terminal management of Dabhol is concerned, yes, that's a completely new line of business for us. Fortunately, we could, get a contract from the Ratnagiri, Gas Power Plants Limited, which is a joint venture between NTPC and GAIL, and we have successfully berthed an LNG tanker there. So we hope that going forward we will have some. Of course, this is a very, very minor segment for us, the terminal management as of now. But we hope that we will also be able to little bit expand in this area as well.
After the EU and UN sanctions that were imposed on Iran, are you still fetching oil from there?
Yes, we are carrying Iranian crude from Iran to India, because the UN sanction doesn't apply to carriage of crude from Iran. It only applies to petroleum products being transported to Iran. Iran crude, unlike in the case of Syria, Iran crude is not under sanction at all. The problem which did occur for the Indian shipping is, some time back, the P&I clubs, which are mostly situated in EU, rising out of an EU sanction, they decided to, not to give us cover for ships carrying Iranian crude from Iran. But then when the EU notification finally came in black and white, it has been very clearly laid out that at least up to 1st of July, there is no ban in providing P&I cover for such vessels. And going beyond 1st of July, also we have actually, applied to EU for an exemption. We are awaiting their feedback.
Again, too premature, Mr. Hazra, but I'm just wondering what would the scenario be if indeed it doesn't come out in the positive? If the cover doesn't come, does it, I'm guessing it naturally means that the transportation of such commodities from those regions would stop for the interim period?
No, I don't think at all that will be the situation, because as long as countries like India, China, they decide to import crude from Iran, there will be one way or the other to transport such crude. Of course, the easiest solution would be to just get them on CIF basis. But we as Indian shipping industry do not think that's the right way, because if there is a business for bringing crude into the country, and if the government has decided that they would continue to bring crude from Iran, it should be definitely possible to work out something whereby the Indian shipping line also gets part of that business. And we are definitely in discussions with the Indian insurance companies, with the government of India, various ministries, and I am very, very hopeful that in case the P&I clubs which are situated in EU, they really stop giving us cover from 1st July onwards, by then we will be able to work out something and we will be able to continue carriage of crude from Iran to India.
Great, and I hope that it does happen, Mr. Hazra. In fact, so that's one reassuring sign from you. The last question that I've really wanted to ask you the last couple of times that we spoke but didn't manage to. What about, the number of shipbuilding companies that we speak to always talk about there being a possibility that SCI may buy the 10% stake in their company, and therefore it makes them the preferred vendor for you as a company. What's the status on that? Is that something that is still on the anvil, could happen over the next 6 months? What's the process there?
You see, I will be very honest with you that yes, I would say that it is on the anvil, but realistically I don't see it happening in the next 6 months, because shipping market is not really likely to revive before any time, middle of 2013 or so. And when you are having pressure on your top line and bottom line in your core business, I don't think that's the best of the time to go ahead in a business which in itself is not doing great, because obviously, all over the world shipyards are suffering because, less and less number of ships are being ordered by the ship owner because of the prevailing shipping market. So while strategically we do believe it's a very good idea to get involved in shipyard as a backward integration, I don't think this is going to happen in a hurry.
Great. Thanks for being that candid, Mr. Hazra. Good having you as always, and look forward to have you more often, as and when, of course, the news do come out. Thanks so much for taking the time out and joining us.
Thanks to your viewers. Thanks to your viewers.